I think we also have with us Mahesh Gupta right now. Mahesh Gupta is the founder, chairman of Kent, one of the largest companies in the water business, water purification business, but he's also a self-made entrepreneur. He's really built it up from scratch. What's your takeaway, Mr. Gupta, from this budget you've seen? Something you would have wanted a little bit more of?
Yeah, I think everybody expects more, but the government has its own limitation. But whatever has come is a very welcome step in terms of manufacturing and in terms of real estate. 10 lakh crores being spent on real estate for poor people that will boost consumption in the real estate and also bring employment in a big way. And the angel tax abolition is a very welcome step. The employment incentive for new employment is a welcome step. So many, many positive. MSME sectors are going to have more facilities which will come up for them in terms of loans. So that's a welcome step because MSME only can give you more employment. So I think this is employment oriented. This is rural sector oriented. A lot of incentives being given to the agricultural sectors with the available funds available to the government. And little taxation benefits being given to the middle income group in terms of less income tax to them. Although little taxation on the long-term capital gain tax has come in. One negative aspect, I will say, share buyback tax has been increased in the hand of the beneficiary. That something is a very negative aspect as far as the industries are concerned. The people who operate, I think that is a big. They will get into the 40% taxation rather than 23% taxation, which is hidden at the moment in time. So that's a negative.
Yeah. Niranjan,
Kamal Bali is also joining us live. He's at CI. He's the MD of Volvo. Good afternoon, Mr. Bali. We've had this huge debate around employment figures, and that debate is ongoing year after year. And looking at, the plan, the blueprint that the government has put forward, they have 3 schemes for employment-linked incentive. They're talking about 1 month wage to new entrants in all formal sectors, 3 installments up to 15,000 rupees, expected to benefit 2 crore youth, right? They will reimburse EPFO contributions of employers, so employees and employers will benefit there. Job creation in manufacturing. The skilling program. Skilling is a huge, and you're in the manufacturing sector. You know best about skilling, the importance of skilling and employment. So what's your takeaway specifically on employment skilling and then overall on the budget?
Yeah, I think first of all, let me compliment the finance minister for a very thoughtful, growth-oriented, inclusive budget. It has touched and addressed every aspect of the economy and every aspect of society, whether it is agriculture, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is innovation. So all elements have been touched. And the icing on the cake is that they have kept the fiscal deficit at 4.9 and a glide path to 4.5 next year. So this to my mind is very good, and this will bring in macro stability, and at the same time it is a tremendous growth oriented budget. But when it comes to especially to internships and employment generation, I think to my mind this is a very good step. This is something especially for the manufacturing sector and the automotive sector. This will do tremendous amount of good. If you look at Germany follows a similar system, and Germany is one of the leaders in automotive manufacturing. And I think by doing this, the youngsters get exposed to the latest technology. They get accustomed to ways of working in a manufacturing setup, and this will give a tremendous leg up both to manufacturing and to employment generation, in my view. So overall, a very thoughtful budget, very pragmatic budget. Yeah.
Just one small point. Sharmila, just making a point here. Some of the global headlines read that Modi's budget spooks investors, but I think the markets are up. Yeah, they spoke too early. Yeah,
so the markets are responding positively to the budget, and I would like to come over to Keshav. Keshav, overall, from this primary study and a quick read of the budget, clearly the government's mandate on manufacturing industry is very, very strong. What is your take on that, and what do you think is the long-term impact of the couple of announcements about schemes which have been made today?
I think that, this is not the first budget where the government has put a thrust on the manufacturing sector. For the past 3-4 years, I think there has been a continuous thrust. And I think that we have seen the results of the same. If you look at the manufacturing sector in India, it has boomed over the course of the last 3 to 4 years. Of course, we still have a long way to go to catch up on economies like China. But I think the steps that they have taken, particularly with regards to employment and with regards to internships, are going to help substantially. Upskilling of the workforce was the need of the hour, and the government has focused on the same. So I think this is going to help the manufacturing sector overall substantially.
So the markets are already responding very positively to the budget, because there was a knee-jerk reaction which we saw initially. But so overall the mood is that the budget is going to benefit the economy, and the
overall sense is that it's continuity. It's sort of, you know, it's sort of, you know, the whole sense that is being given is that we are back to business as usual, so everybody can just chill, not worry about what happened in the elections, or that you're 20 seats, 30 seats down. I think the messaging is here, back to business. But does it work that way for investors, for the venture capitalists, for the private equity sector? You know, recently we saw there were issues of corporate governance in India, for example, and then there were questions of whether, you know, funding is going to slow down, and we had Paytm, we had Byju's, we've had some disasters, we're chasing of valuations. So I'm very keen to know, from your perspective, because you head this body that really looks at venture capital, how do VCs, Ps, how are they going to look at the budget?
Sure, thank you, Arnav. Thank you for having me on this show. So clearly, I think compliments and congratulations to our finance minister.
Yeah.
To us, like everybody talked about the angel tax, I think she's an angel to all of us at this moment. You know, there is a lot of relief, something which was being asked for a while. It's kind of getting through to daylight now. With this will result a lot of investments, as we can surely be assured. And I think just as the finance minister has mentioned about her focus about MSME, and if you break the word MSME, you know, let's say for the first M is the MSME, S is for your skill, M is again for your middle class, and E is for the employment. So that, with that, keeping that in focus, an announcement on the angel tax, coupled with another announcement which was around the at least the partiality, which was now removed in terms of the long-term capital gain. So at least it allows the domestic investor to kind of make a wise decision of listed and unlisted. So there's an opportunity which gets opened onto the unlisted space. And as you invest into the unlisted space, certainly there is employment. Every $1 million which is spent into this asset class by the VCPE and the alternate asset class actually generates $5.4 million of revenue and about 45 jobs. So certainly from the numbers which are there right now, you will see an influx of that coming in, because globally the capital is available. And I think this is what we are requested for: clarity, consistency and now the international as well as the domestic investors are going to see that. Coupled with that was another nice announcement, which you really need to find a little bit more detail, was another opportunity of putting across a fund structure by the VCC, the variable capital company. So that needs to be a little bit dwelled with. It's only for the IFSC, or it's also applicable outside, and only if it's limited to the aircraft. But again, that's another positive move which we've seen, which is coming up. There was a mention about the space tech. Well, I think the Honourable Finance Minister had put together a message about investment into sunrise sector. We saw an earlier announcement on agri as well, right? So the NABARD being more powerful and making sure that opportunities which are in our farmer world and the startups are being deployed will be helped. Certainly this 1,000 crores is small, but at least it's a start. And there is opening of the defense, which was already talked about by Honourable Prime Minister earlier on. So those are some of the hard ones. The softer ones, if you really saw, the messaging came around ease of doing business, which everybody wanted to hear about, right?
Yeah.
So now And that also coupled with the fact that, look, we want to get more FDI into the country.
Yeah.
And FDI into the country, well, there were pools of capital which were Singapore and Mauritius. Those are areas which were kind of restricted. Hopefully, I think, as we go in the detail.
Yeah. I'm thinking also,
Sure.
just a small comment from me before I go to Rajan Navani of Jet Synthesis, who's joining us from CIA.
Yeah.
I think the markets are very mature today. Markets are not reacting to, for example, the tax rate for equity investments held for less than 1 year going up to 20% from 15%, for shares held for more than 12 months going up. LTCG, I think, goes up from 10% to 12.5%. Markets are not making a big deal of it. I like this. They're not having a meltdown.
No.
In that sense, I would say markets are not selfish. If LTCG is going up to 12.5%, then that investment goes to other categories. As you rightly use the word, there's some froth, then that investment goes somewhere else. As long as the economy is moving, I think the markets, those who are in the capital markets are beginning to say that, listen, we're all right. We accept there is some fraud, there's some overheating, but we are invested in India.
The long-term
India does well, we do well. That is, I think, so I'm also very, very happy that the markets did not, beyond the point, react negatively today. I know nothing about the markets, but when I saw that 1,000-point fall, I said, my God, this is the way you're going to react to STT on futures and options by 0.02%. But now I feel really happy about it. On that happy note, I'm on air with Rajan Navani. And Rajan is heading Jet Synthesis. He's, by the way, the biggest player in the gaming industry. We don't know that aspect about Rajan. He wears many hats. So from your perspective, from the point of view of technology, from the point of view of future technologies, deep tech, etc., not enough, I guess, Rajan, in this budget, but that and overall picture from you.
No, thanks, Arnab. Always pleasure to chat with you on such a subject that you also resonate so brilliantly with. As of today, I think this big budget has been about Gen Zs. It's been about young people. It has been about the hope. It has been about, the technology cutting across everything. First time we heard a finance minister talk about technology, skilling, capital, regulatory, all in one statement. So I think what really excites me about this budget is the roadmap for the next 25 years. The 9 buckets, and if we can fill up these buckets correctly, I think all the words that you mentioned, of deep tech and Gen AI and quantum and immersive technologies will all start playing out, over the next few years, provided we are able to create efficiency and productivity and resilience for agriculture, for example, all the way to, government reforms. So what I liked really about this budget was, of course, the fiscal prudence, keeping the fiscal deficit at 4.9 and more importantly, giving a direction that it will move to 4.5 over the next few years, and, keeping these 9 buckets. So if I really look at those aspects, truly excited. I know I was hearing in on this, you were mentioning that the public markets haven't acted too much on the 10 going to 12.5%. But I must tell you, the private investors are super excited because there the LTCG has actually gone down significantly, as was being commented, from over 20-odd%, now to 12.5, which will really spur domestic investment, global investment into unlisted securities, private companies, which is really going to drive India, right? India is not about many large companies if you compare to the China and US, right? We might have 2 or 3 in the top 100. Those countries would have, 20, 30. But we'll have many smaller, medium-sized companies which will partner larger companies around the world and make India a super partner to the world rather than a superpower. So this journey to Viksit Bharat, if I look at the next 25 years, I think this budget has kind of, put a foundational framework, around which this can be populated, enhanced, and really keep youth and women and, the poor who need to make the journey, the aspirational districts, all of that has been given, tremendous importance to. So,
yeah, but all this is good, but there are...
And look forward to seeing how this goes forward.
What about long-term investors? People who are long-term investors. If you're an investor Mahesh Gupta, I'm taking you off your area. I'm just making you wear your business hat. So the Modi government says that we have given you a stable government, okay, over the last 5 to 10 years, and you benefited from a stable government. Is Mahesh Gupta on? You have invested in shares, you benefited, gold, you benefited, real estate, you benefited, whatever asset class, net. As of today, you made more money, so be ready to pay more capital gains tax. So basic logic is if you gain more, you pay more. How is that going to be received by the business community, investors?
Well, I think 12.5, if you spend more than a year, is still the lowest taxation you have an option to. Where else do you spend? You spend either in a long-term capital or you spend in the FDRs. If you go into FDRs, then you get nothing. Yeah. And whereas even at 12.5%, it is the lowest taxation one can get.
Yeah.
To my mind, the industry still remain positive. Suppose it would have gone to 20% as was being speculated in the market.
Yes.
Then I think it would have hurt us too much.
It would have.
But 10 to 12.5 is negligible and one can easily digest it. I don't think there is any negative factor on this.
So Mahesh Gupta and Rajan, I'll let you both go. Thank you very much, for joining us this afternoon. And Abhishek is taking this forward with Salvatore and Ratun, who are continuing to be with us. Rajiv, of course. Please, over to you.